This is about the Nkomo Primary School. As I said, 1,500 kids who have never gone to school have gone to school, and Tuli and Jabalani and Siabonga and Salindali have jobs now. Odds are they would have never been able to get a job because they wouldn't have had school, unless you started under 4 trees. So any questions for our guest of honor? Yes?
First of all, I want to congratulate you for your efforts to develop the school, to build it. It's a very moving story. And then for you to document the work that she's done. My question is, what is your most pressing need now?
Did you hear that?
Yes.
Or do you want to use the mic?
I'm not used. Thank you very much for the question.
That's good.
The most challenging thing presently at school is that even though our school is a no-fee school, every child can come, but some might not come.
She's wired.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. Some might not go to school because they don't have school uniforms. For a child to be at school in South Africa, in most of the schools in South Africa, he or she must have a school uniform. If they don't have school uniform, some, even though they don't have to pay at school, might not go to school because of the school uniform. We've got another a very challenging thing, that most of the community doesn't have electricity. But at schools, we do have electricity. So the solar lights, because we've been using the candles, and only to find that whenever a child is using a candle, busy with her or his studies, he might fall asleep, and the candle might make a damage. So we're in dire need.
Burn their house down.
Yeah, but most of the houses were burnt down through the use of the candle. We're in dire need of school uniforms. We're in dire need of sanitary towels for girls, because whenever the girl child is bleeding, some might not come to school for 5 days. But fortunately, in our school, since we don't just sit down and keep quiet, we go out and talk to the people, we always provide. But the challenge is mostly with the children who are going to the high schools, because in high schools we used to provide for the high schools. So the most challenging thing I can say is school uniforms, solar lights. Even though I'm still in dire need of classrooms, but I'm challenging the department. I used to say to them every year, I write a proposal letter to the Department of Education. Even though there is a support center built by the department, but there is not even one class built by the department. So I hope that one day they will come with maybe 6 classrooms. I still need the classrooms, but what I really need more school uniforms, solar lights for the children so that they can be able to be at school.
Just to follow up on that, Suzanne's involved with another organization that provides these little lights that are battery powered, recharged with solar light.
UC Santa Barbara.
UC Santa Barbara invented this and set up a nonprofit just to provide the lights everywhere in the world that doesn't have electricity. And you have, what, 4,500?
Yes, I got 4,500 that I distributed to my school, to the high school. I usually involved my boss, the circuit manager, when distributing the solar lights, especially to the matric students, because they have a lot of work and they have to prepare for their final exams at school. So I usually focus on the schools that don't have electricity at all. From those schools, I used to give all the matrics each solar light.
The matric is a graduation exam to graduate from high school, so it's important. Questions? Yeah.
Your life is so inspiring, and you're such a light yourself. I wanted to ask a question about AIDS. I know AIDS has affected a lot of people in San Francisco, and it's a tragedy. And I was wondering right now, is it the spread of it still a big problem in your community? And if so, what can be done to stop that?
It is spreading, even though the Department of Health is doing something. But I think what is the problem is this thing of polygamy in our community. Polygamy, men having many wives. You'll find that they are moving around with little girls, not condomizing, even though the Department of Health provide condoms in every corner. In the clinics, at schools, in high schools, there are condoms, but they don't believe in using the condoms. So the spread of HIV and AIDS and people denying to go and test, the department is providing with the drugs, but people are people. They don't believe that using a condom can provide them. So I can say it's still spreading. And we, as Mrs. Zikhali, I'm also scared that maybe, even though I go for testing, but I'm married to an African man who can do anything. Yes, sir. It's spreading, and we're afraid of that.
There's also, just to say, you mentioned that one of the security guards
Yes.
would not go to the clinic, because if you went to the clinic, you're admitting you have AIDS, and then he died.
He died. We saw the symptoms, even though we were unable to tell him that you are HIV positive, but the symptoms were there. We tried pleading him to go to the clinic. From our school to the clinic, I think it's 3 kilometers.
It's fairly close.
It's very close, and the drugs are free. But he didn't listen to anyone, and he passed away.
And there's a huge, if everyone didn't know that, George W. Bush, as president, got a huge input of getting the antiviral drugs to all over Africa, and that has had a huge benefit. So, questions? Yes, sir.
So having had the pleasure and honor of being at Nkomo School and also working as an educator in our educational system here, and I know the power of the internet and of that knowledge and how that translates to our students. I remember being there multiple years ago when access to the internet was a challenge. I think we spent all afternoon trying to get something going in your office. Have you seen any advancement in that in any of your classrooms?
No. We are also we have a challenge of load shedding in South Africa. Electricity is on and off, even though there is electricity at school, but you will find that maybe 3 hours, 4 hours we don't have electricity. So, and our network is on and off because of that load shedding. So we are still having a challenge with the connection.
Yeah, the utility there, because they don't have enough protection, they just shut down the electricity for a few hours with no notice.
Yes.
It just happens.
Yes.
But if I can say, she visited Simpson's home. Simpson is one of the little girls that really touched my heart. And earlier this year, she got, I don't know how, a cell phone, and she's on WhatsApp. And she's WhatsApping us. So there are some, it seems WhatsApp is big there, yes?
Yes,
So in
that's
that
how we
sense,
survive.
there's progress.
That's how we survive, by WhatsApp. And the students used to go with their cell phones to the school. Whenever they are in the classes, there is a room there, they say, please charge for me, please charge for me. Because back home they don't have electricity. Yeah.
Yes.
Congratulations and thank you for your work, and John and Suzanne too.
You're welcome.
I'm interested in the girls' education and what your school and the teachers are doing really encourage the girls to go on, as some of your students have done? What is it that you're doing that's special, that really encourages them?
Yeah, it's our school as a center of care and support. We engage our learners. Students are called learners in South Africa. We engage our learners in many activities. So we do have clubs for girls, clubs like Soul Buddies clubs, where they are involved. This is the child thing. The children have to come up with the ideas. Maybe when we are supporting some of the girls, you will find that that club has identified the need and come up with the suggestion to us as adults. So that we do have activities for the girls, to make sure that they are at school, encouraging them. Since I've said that I wasn't fortunate that I had to go to the university to further my studies. I did everything through correspondence. I'm encouraging them. They used to invite me to their clubs to encourage them. I'm encouraging them that we are there to support them. We don't want them to be like us. There are opportunities. Even though they have a challenge for the registration money to the universities, but we do encourage them to go and further their studies, because if they are in there, the government can help them with the loans and with whatever. But we are focusing mainly in girls, because we don't want what happened to us to happen to them. We're strictly focusing on them.
And she mentioned something called the Soul Buddies, and I just realized somehow we cut that from the film. But they have this group called Soul Buddies, and that's mostly for the orphan kids, OBC?
No, it's for the whole.
For everybody.
for
But it's
everybody.
a youth thing to encourage people
Yes.
to do things. What was I going to say? Questions. I'm trying to think of what was I going to say? I was going to say one more thing, and I can't remember what it was.
Their hands.
Yeah, oh, hey, Nina.
Well, I'm just curious to know how we can help your school. Like, is there a foundation to give money to? How do you accept help?
Well, maybe you should talk to Suzanne afterward.
Yes.
We should say that, I know what I said with Thule. The purpose of the film was not to ask for money for the kids, for the school, for anything. We wanted to tell a successful story from a country in Africa. So much news is negative and tragic news. We wanted to tell a positive story. So there are ways to help out with school uniforms, but that wasn't the goal of this. But so talk to Suzanne about that. But I was going to say, they mentioned Thule, Siyabonga, Silindali, Jabulani, all of those. When they got to university, they were able to get a bursary for their university education. And when they graduated, they're required to work 3 years at a placement the government tells them to go. And then the loan, if you will, is forgiven by the government. So there is some help if you can get to university. But that was a tricky thing, because they have an application process, like apply to college, and there's some fee.
It's $35.
It's like $35.
And they can't.
Well, if you live like some of these kids live, $35, $35,000, what's the difference? So Suzanne did fork over a couple of $35, which got them kick-started.
And as an add-on, sorry, I'm not the camera here. As an add-on, Thule is finishing her 3rd year, and her plan is to go on to get her master's. She wants to teach in university. Jabulani, her brother, is at a rural school outside Johannesburg, and he wants to stay there because he looked around and the HOD, head of departments, are aging, and he wants to become an HOD. And as you saw, if you read quickly enough, he's mentoring a chess club, and of course I had Amazon sent him Queen of Katawi DVD with the book, which he previewed with his chess club.
If you haven't
With
heard, that's
any
a
luck,
documentary film about a girl who plays chess.
from
Forgotten
Ghana,
which
maybe.
country.
With any luck, he's applied to a teacher exchange program, and he may spend next month, in March, here in San Francisco. We'll see if he gets in. So Linda Lee is going to leave her nursing, we
She's a nurse
expect,
at a hospital now.
but she's far away, nothing going on in the community where she is. So she will probably move closer to her mom.
Yes.
But we're so thrilled. If you notice, we tied the older women talking about that they had no education at all. The kids at the end were their relatives. And I still think, I love the story you spread with us of Celinda Lee and her mother. So mother was the cleaning lady at the school, no
Yes.
education. Daughter graduated from nursing school.
4
Is-
years.
And he got a job at a hospital. And they were so excited, they jumped up and down, and they told Mrs. Zikhali, Celinda Lee just came home, this is a while ago now, with her first paycheck. Can you, and I don't know, but I would guess that one paycheck was more money than that mother had seen in a
Yes.
couple of years.
And
Yes.
we just saw her.
So I just did find it inconceivable to see what was going on in Tokasili's mind when the daughter said, Mom, my paycheck. Anyway. Yeah, well, go in the back and then the front.
Just wanted to make a comment more than anything else. It's just really a great testament to one person's vision, and I can only imagine the challenges that you've encountered and overcome. And it's very, very inspiring story.
Thank
And I
you.
think the film has really told that story very well.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for your efforts and what you do.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, you are amazing. You're an inspiration.
Thank
and
you.
thank you for the work you do. But there are several instances in the movie where there is the question of safety and security for the children, for the families, for your family, for all the families. Have you seen improvement? And are the perpetrators prosecuted? Is there justice for people that do these awful things?
I can say no, because I was attacked 4 times now. And I've never, ever seen who my attackers were. Even though the police do come to my place, but I've never heard who were they. So at schools, that's why we have a security guard at the gate to make sure that whoever comes, maybe they know him or her. He is in a good mood to be at school. We are trying to protect our kids at school, at schools. So in South Africa, in South Africa as a whole, I were not really safe. Yeah,
Crime nationwide is an issue,
yeah.
as you probably know.
Especially to us, since we're at the border of Mozambique. They used to attack us and took our things to Mozambique. So we're not safe down there.
In the back and then the front.
John, with all due respect, if your intent was not to get funds or have people help, I think you failed.
Feel free.
Well, but you know, I'm always impressed when I realize, you know, like with $5, how many meals that buys, for example. So what is the cost of a uniform, just to satisfy my curiosity?
Rand?
In Rand,
In rent.
No, dollars.
Oh, sure, I'll make the conversion right now.
it's
dollars.
about $50 converted US.
And that includes shoes, right?
And yes, and when we are providing school uniform to a child, is the shoes, the socks, the skirt or a trouser, a shirt, a pullover, and a tie,
And that's
which is
500 rand?
500 rands, the whole set.
A little under $45.
And where are the uniforms produced? Tell them how you got it, the work pulled into your community to give money to seamstresses in your community. You
What-
used to go outside
Where did you
to
buy the
buy
uniforms years ago, and where do you get the uniforms today?
Okay. We used to go to town, especially in Tuba, which is from our school, which is 100 kilometers. I don't know in miles.
60.
All right, to buy school uniform for our kids. But now there are people who are sewing in the community who can do the logos for the schools, who are producing the school uniforms from where we are buying locally. Yes,
These are the local women.
local women, yes. But with the shoes, we're still supposed to go to town to get the
And
shoes.
Matuba.
Mtuba, yes, or Empangeni. That's where
Empangeni.
we can get the quality ones, because at Hluhluwe we only have Pep store. And when you buy shoes from Pep, they last for only 2 months in a child. But when you go to Mtuba, for the whole year, the child will use those shoes.
The big town in the area is the town called Shishluwe, which is 40 kilometers or so away from the school. So Shishluwe is way up in the country, and then the school is further up. And tragically, and there are some markets in Maduku and some other places nearby, but the quality is so terrible. Things fall apart so fast. So to go to the bigger towns and get better quality is worth it, but then it's more money. You know.
I think in few years to come, Kulani Special School will produce school uniform, because the attire I'm wearing was, I bought it from Kulani.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, from Kulani, made by the students at Kulani.
Kulani's another school.
Yeah.
We'll just end it there, because that would be another entire story and film to tell.
So when I think about this and all the changes in your community, and then I think about all the rest of Africa that doesn't have you working for them, and I don't know, what are your thoughts about that?
Other people like you.
Fortunately, I've created some leaders. The principal of Kulani is a very powerful lady. She started teaching at Nkomo.
She's the principal of this Kalani school, which is another school.
Yes. We are hoping, what Africa Foundation is doing now, he has been inviting me to go to some of the places where they have lodges. And they are planning that I might go to Botswana, to Malawi, to Kenya, to motivate them on how to work together with the funders, so that maybe we can create more Mrs. Zikhalis in other African countries.